Welcome to the South Asian Impact Project, where we honor South Asian leaders building a better America for everyone. I'm your host, Vidhi Bhansali. My guest today is someone whose life's work sits at the intersection of creativity, neuroscience, and healing. Sangeeta Prasad is a board-certified art therapist with decades of experience helping children, adults, seniors, and military veterans express what words alone can't. She's trained in psychology, neuroscience, and fine arts, and completed her clinical internship at the Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital, supporting veterans experiencing trauma and PTSD. She's the author of several books and articles on art therapy, and in 2023, she received the American Art Therapy Association's President's Award for her extraordinary contributions to the field. She also leads two foundations dedicated to expanding access to art therapy in the US and internationally. Sangeeta is also an accomplished mixed media artist known for her stunning sari-based pieces. As she beautifully says, the weaver has a story, the wearer has a story, and then I create a new story out of it. I'm honored to share this conversation with someone who has dedicated her life to helping people heal, reconnect, and rediscover themselves through art. I hope you'll join us. Hi, Sangeeta. Welcome to the podcast. It is so lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Vidhi. This is a wonderful opportunity to speak about my favorite thing to do is art therapy. So I really appreciate it, and it's an honor to be here.
Appreciate you being here. And I see that there's a lovely painting behind you. Dare I ask if this is something you've created?
Yes, this is one of my paintings. Several years back, my mother gave me a piece of her wedding sari, which was tearing. And she said, "Do you want to do something with this?" And usually people just frame it, and she had just framed it. So I decided I wanted to do something. And that time I was really going through a really rough time. And so I just took this piece of fabric and I started playing around with it. And I created this house tree, and it's either a moon or a sun, as anybody wants to interpret it. And so that's my painting. And now I use it as my style of working. So I keep collecting tone saris
Wow.
in all different. And I love the Kanjivaram saris
Uh-huh.
and Banaras saris and the silk saris. So I have the weaver has a story when he's weaving it. The wearer has a story when she's wearing it.
Uh-huh.
And then I create a new story out of it.
How beautiful is that? And
So
such a
that's,
creative way to use a sari, because we all have those saris that hold a lot of, sentiment and value for us, and you don't know what to do with it.
yes.
And this is such a beautiful way to memorialize that.
Yes. And I collect it from aunts, uncles, friends, and just create these pieces of art that comes to my mind as I'm creating it. Yes.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Sangeeta, maybe, we'll start with getting to the heart of it a little bit, because I mean, in this time, as we're recording this, there's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, negativity going around because of, whether it's the job market or AI or geopolitical concerns, domestic issues going on. And so people are just generally stressed. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you could start off by telling us, what is art therapy, first of all? And
Mm-hmm.
then is this something that could help people deal with this, cope with this anxiety in this time of stress?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for asking that question. Yes, art therapy is a mental health profession and it needs training like any other counselor or psychologist that needs training. We are trained in psychology, neuroscience, and art.
Mhm.
And it's really the basic way of communicating visually, right? We have the verbal communication, but we have a beautiful way of communicating, and that's the visual communication. And mankind has done that for years now, from cave paintings to beautiful churches. So, in this day and age, especially, it's really applicable because so much can be expressed So many emotions can be expressed through our art that words don't are not enough. So my internship, when I started actually talking about the stress that's going on right now, was at Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital. And it was that time that the Desert Storm also was going on. And we would get people coming back with mental breakdowns, having hallucinations or voices in their head or, just trauma. And it was PTSD, a post traumatic stress disorder. The creative forces now with the veterans and the army use art, actually masks, to really get the people to express themselves. A lot of art therapists work in the bedside of kids going through cancer treatment, for instance. You're sitting there getting your chemotherapy, and it's so painful. You're getting poked every time. There's so much of trauma there.
Mm.
So there are wonderful programs that our therapists work with children in the waiting room, in the bedside, or they might have temper tantrums. They don't want a doctor or a nurse coming near them. So to reduce their anxiety and their fears, art can be a wonderful tool. We
Mm.
work with adults, kids, so in many, many different settings.
Interesting. So wide variety of use cases, and we'll get into a lot of these. And you have to be an artist or have any experience in art to be able to benefit from these therapies.
You don't, to benefit from the therapies, you do not have to be an artist
Okay.
or be good at art. The artist is within each of us. It's a visual means of communication.
Mm.
So, in fact, we even work with people who are blind, who have visual impairment. So you can see that art can be a very powerful tool. You use all their other senses, the
Interesting.
touch, smell, taste, different ways of helping people. Yeah, so you don't have to be an artist at all.
Amazing for even use cases where you can't. If you're visually impaired, that's incredible. So maybe, also on the other side, if you want to become an art therapist, what does it take to become one?
So therapy is a mental health field, as I said before. You have to have training in art, so you have to be an artist yourself, and you have to learn psychology. There's a master's in art therapy program that you go through. After you finish your master's, which is a 2 to 3 year program,
Mhm.
then you have almost 1,000 hours of working with a person where you are supervised
Mm.
also. So that leads you to your registration as an art therapist. Then there's a board certification. So you have to get certified. And then some states in the United States have licensing also. There are many people who say, I'll do an art course, I'll do a workshop
Mm.
or a certificate course and say, I'm an art therapist. But that's not enough because you're working with somebody's mind and feelings and thoughts. So it's very, very important that we take the training that is necessary to become an art therapist.
I'm glad you clarified that. This is a legit science, medical science, and
Yes.
needs the proper training because you're right. You are dealing with people's emotions and state of
Hmm.
mind. And speaking of becoming an art therapist, how did your journey go from Tamil Nadu in India to the US and into art therapy?
So I had done my fine arts in India, in Chennai. And when I was doing that, then in my third year of college, I also did visual communications, which is advertising and package designing and all that. And in fact, that program I had helped start with 4 other students because there was no visual communication
Wow.
in Chennai at that time. And after 1 year, I said, this is not for me. So I decided, and I was searching for something else. And my mother ran a school in India, Bambino School, and I used to go there and work with the kids a lot. And for myself, I had found art to be very powerful, right? As a kid, I drew a lot, and then I had a wonderful art teacher who really encouraged me to just express myself. And then doing fine arts, I wanted something more. And that's when I came across this book at the US Embassy
Mhm.
on art therapy by Edith Kramer. And I used to go to the embassy actually because there was air conditioning and it was so hot in Chennai.
I can prove that.
So, and I would go and draw there and find books and, so when I read Edith Kramer's book, Art Therapy with Children, I just was, this is it. I knew I wanted to do it. So I looked up universities and applied. And at that time in 1985, it was very difficult for people to come to the US, right? But I applied, I got in, and that's where my journey began. Yeah.
Amazing to do that, like back in, like what, 1980,
85.
85, when like we didn't even talk about mental health as much, and to think that you're going to dedicate your whole career to that was incredible. And I'm sure whoever's looking for ROI on that air conditioning installment in the US Embassy should know that they've done great. They've created
Yeah.
wonderful art.
Yes. Yeah. At that time, we didn't have any kind of air conditioning, right, in our homes and
Yes,
everything. It was so hot.
I can relate. I did grow up in Chennai, but without air conditioning back in
Yes,
the day as well.
all
So
of us did.
kudos to them. Thank you. That's quite brave, actually. And as you were saying, you didn't see a program like even visual arts, you created one. And I know this is going to come up in your story more as we talk about this. So really a trailblazer there, Sangeeta.
Thank you.
So let's dig into, you mentioned there are several ways and then people that art therapy can be applied for. Let's talk about seniors for a bit. I know you've been doing a lot of work on that front lately. Can you tell us about what does that entail? Who are you working with? What kind of concerns are you seeing across patients? And what does art unlock for them that words cannot, or like other forms of therapy cannot?
Yeah. So the inspiration, I'd worked years back with people with memory loss and Alzheimer's, dementia, in the beginning of my career. And then, of course, my career took me to schools and adults and everything. And then when my mom had a stroke about 4 years back, she turned to art. She loved coloring and she was doing a lot of art. And I wanted to do something with her, but I would get stuck. So I decided, let me start this group for seniors so she can also talk to people. She had lost her speech a little bit. She was this dynamic woman who suddenly became very quiet. It was really hard to see that. And she had migrated from during COVID, she had to leave everything back home and come here. And then she had the stroke. So I wanted to do something with her. And I recognized there were a lot of seniors who were also alone at home. So I started this group asking all my friends' moms to join in, and my mother in law and my mom. And I had to work out the ethics of it that I was working with her. So I invited a colleague of mine who was also my mentee year, before in India, Ashmi, and she joined me and we designed this group such that it would be really art based and it would give an opportunity for them to express themselves, to talk to each other, to be creative, to have fun and to be playful also, and to introduce meditation, gratitude, practice, affirmations. So in this group, we had somebody who was 95 years old to 80s. They were all Indians who had come and staying with their kids here. We were very culturally aware what is necessary, and we asked them, is it okay if we call you auntie? And they said yes. So that's how this group started. And what we're finding is that we did this for 3 years, 100 sessions.
Wow.
My mom passed away on the 98th session.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So, but it was in memory of her. I feel like I need to create more for seniors and more of these sessions. So now we do 8-week sessions, and Ashmi and a student of mine from India are conducting this group. So Ashmi is in Bombay, the student lives in Pune, and the group is actually in the US right now. And we are in the process of designing a group for India also. So we want to see how we can build on this model because we found a lot of benefit. Even yesterday, I got a call from someone who said, "Thank you so much for this group. I am finding it. I feel I've come alive. It's brought joy into my life. So now we have made it 70 and over.
Mm.
And repeatedly in the group, they would say how much they're benefiting from just being on the group. And we don't talk about their pain or their sorrows or any of that. It's really focused on the art, but the art process is bringing up a lot for them
Mm.
and bringing them to, like, we do a lot on nature. So we bring in leaves and flowers and create mandalas out of it or found objects at home. So they're beginning to, like, when you start getting old, you start losing interest in everything. You
Mm.
start losing your sense of purpose. So the thing that we are finding a sense of purpose. And with the caregivers, my mother had a caregiver. Several of the caregivers found it beneficial for themselves,
Mm.
and they found something they could do with the person. So, because she had a stroke, she couldn't get up, she was wheelchair bound, she couldn't reach and get stuff only a little bit. So, they would help her, they would get the art materials, and they found that really helpful for themselves too. And their creativity came up,
Wow.
and they started feeling wonderful about the job that they were doing. So, I just love that group. Yeah.
Amazing work. And I, especially for that age group, which is all about helping them find purpose, sense of belonging, the sense of community through other folk that are in
Mhm.
the class. I think that's half the battle won with any ailments that they might be experiencing.
Exactly.
Wonderful work. And so the group in the US, who is it open to, or how could people join that?
So it's open to anybody 70 and over. We usually try to put it out to some of the local groups
Mhm.
or it's word of mouth. We only take a maximum of 8 people. So we don't know how right now we are not we don't know how to scale it
Mhm.
up, but we're doing it one person at a time.
I see. And hopefully this also serves that as an inspiration to other therapists and just a need, specifically within this age group, right, for this kind of a therapy.
Right, right,
Awesome.
right.
Are there any particular, I mean, you shared one example of how they said they're feeling great about this, but as a therapist, were there any stories that stood out to you amongst this age group?
Yeah. One story that comes to mind is one of the members said, I am not really good at drawing. मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकती हूँ. My daughter has asked me to come here, so I'm coming here just for that.
Mhm.
And she was supposed to come. Her daughter said, "Okay, at least do 2 sessions." She stayed for all the 100 sessions. She was so creative, and every time she said, "I don't draw really well. I don't do this thing," but then her artwork was mind blowing. You know, I was actually at a museum and I was looking at quilts, and I said, "Oh, wouldn't it be really great to do quilts with them? But let's do it in a different way." So we gave them the theme of when we did it, we gave them, and we give them homework
Mhm.
every week, which then they work during the week, and then they post it on a WhatsApp group.
Interesting.
So, what's the reason we came up with homework was we felt that we do the session, but we want them to continue doing it. And for this quilt, she made an amazing, she displayed all her artwork
Mhm.
in such a way that it made that quilt that showed, you know,
Mhm.
her artwork. And another artwork she made was, it was just with nature, they had to make something and she makes this amazing snakes and ladders with leaves and twigs, and she must have spent hours doing that. Another one was with my mom. One that stands out was we had done one with, how a tree has a cross section,
Mhm.
so when you cut it, every ring has a story in it
Mhm.
because it represents that year. And so it's usually darker when there's like a drought or something. And then when there's more rain, it's usually lighter. So we took that concept and we asked them the rings to be each year, each decade in their life. So
Wow.
there were 8 rings. And I sat with my mom and I worked with it. It was so wonderful to get her to talk about her life. And each of them did one of these. And then when they do their homework, they bring it in and share. So
Mhm.
the first part of the group is sharing. what they've done. The second part is doing a warm up.
Mhm.
Then we do an art activity, and then we explain the next week homework.
I see.
And they all got to share their stories of resilience. One person had been through partition as a little kid, and so they talked about and what helped us survive.
Mhm. Mhm.
So each person was able to share it, but in such a way that really helped them connect.
Mm.
And we really stay on the resilience part of it, the reflection, the resilience part.
That's sounds like a great exercise we could all be doing with, members of our family to know their story better. Because you never sit and talk about, Mom, what was your decade 60 like? Or six, right?
Right,
Like, right? So
right.
this is a great way to bring out those stories from them.
And for other 80-year-olds, right, when they're all 80s and 90s
Yeah.
and they're doing this, they could relate on, the past experiences, what the history, partition, all that
Right.
kind of stuff that happened. So it was a common story there too.
Interesting. So, Sangeeta, obviously, you're in this group with your peers, and colors always cheer you up. But what is it scientifically about art therapy that helps the brain and helps you cope with your emotions?
Such a good question. So there's a lot of research being done on it. One research points to how that when we start doing art and using our hands and you know there's a calming, there's something called the autonomous nervous system. So when we are anxious, stressed and everything like that, we are in in a heightened alert, the sympathetic,
Mhm.
and the parasympathetic is down here, right? And we have a window of tolerance, if you think about it that way. So when we go into this, in order to make rational, good decisions, we have to calm the mind down.
Mm.
And if we're really down and we don't have the energy or we're depressed, we need to bring it up
Mm.
into this part, into this range. And that's when we can function. So what art does is it helps calm the amygdala, which is the part of the brain, the limbic system. It helps engage the frontal lobe. So we can do a lot of art activities depending on what the needs of the person is
Mm.
to bring about that connection. Also, another very important part is our fine motor, gross motor coordination.
Mhm.
So that's another part that art therapists can work with. So even as seniors, right, you start losing this part, the fine motor. You're not able to put things together. So a lot of our activities are geared with that, or you're working with a child who has a physical disability or they have low hand motor coordination. So we can tailor it to different things that they can do. So
Interesting.
there's a lot of connection between you know, art and the brain.
Mhm. No, that's very
Yes.
helpful. Thank you. Speaking of kids, as a mom myself, actually a mom of a girl who's very passionate about art.
Mm.
What are you seeing children coming in to see you for, and what kind of changes or transformation have you seen there?
So I mainly work with children who have anxiety, sometimes they have depression, some have ADHD,
Mm.
sometimes they're stressed, they're really stressed. Sometimes it's grief and loss. So like one of the kids that I worked with had lost her father and she was really depressed about it. Like she was not eating really well. Mom did not know what to do. So the doctor recommended art therapy because she loved art.
Mm.
So even though we did not speak much about her dad initially, the whole thing was it was with metaphors
Mm.
that we worked. Um, so that's when she would create things that kind of expressed herself and her feelings. And slowly, slowly, she began talking about her grief and her loss. Another teenager that I worked with had come in because she was adopted.
Mm.
And when she was the oldest of three girls who was adopted, and she had a lot of, you know, anger issues. She was having problems in school. She didn't want to go study, and here the parents were not sure what more they could do. And so the mom brought her in for therapy, and she would talk. She remembered what had happened and how she was left by her birth mother
Mm.
at a place with two other siblings, and what they had gone through and how they had gone through an orphanage and everything. And so one of the sessions, we started working on a doll, and she created a doll of her mother.
Mm.
And this became her transitional object. And as she began to work on it, stories started. And one of the things she was really worried about is that she would forget what her mother looked like, and she would forget her memories, and she was holding on to those memories. So as she began, her anger started going down. They were able to work with her at home. She started getting a little bit more interested in her education, so she was fighting less with her siblings. So there was a lot that was done. And then through the sessions, she also started writing letters to her mom, when she had a problem, for
Mm.
advice. So it was like journaling, but she would write and she would bring it into therapy and she would share it with me, what she had written. So there's so much that happened through the art process.
My gosh, such touching stories, right? Especially as a mom, I feel it, it tugs at your heartstrings. I want to actually dig into a little bit more about what are some symptoms amongst kids or within seniors that make me go, oh, this is something that art therapy could address.
Mhm.
And also, if we're at that point where we think this is a good idea, how do we go about finding an art therapist? What should we be looking for, um, in finding the right service or the right talent?
All right, right. So maybe art therapy, as I said,
Mhm.
it just depends on where what is needed. But an art therapist almost will work with any kind of population,
Mhm.
quote the normal population. People who have regular stress, regular problems can come to an art therapist. I can share with you some pictures of a person who had anxiety disorder and conversion disorder. That is, a conversion disorder is when you have a lot of thoughts and feelings and you're not able to express it, and it comes up out as pain, just like a person gets a migraine or a headache, right? Or tightness in your shoulder. That's your body converting it into pain, and
Mhm.
it's telling you, whoa, there's something going on you know so this is quite severe, and she used to have very severe panic attacks, and she had gone for treatment to many different places. And a lot of times people with conversion disorder think it's something physical,
Mhm.
that they need so they'd gone to neurologists, cardiologists, different people, and everybody pointed out it's something to do with the mind, right? And she comes, and so as part of her understanding what was going on with her, through the times we've done, like, what does this feel like?
Mhm.
What does this panic feel like? And she's done like a tornado, how it felt. It felt like a tornado just comes and sweeps over her, and then she has absolutely no control, because panic attacks are like that, right? You cannot breathe, you cannot, and she usually has a morning panic attack. And then over the times when we have met, we've done a lot of artwork. I've seen her for almost 7 to 8 years now, and she's gets better, but there's ups and downs because it's such a chronic condition. So people can come for acute, they can come for chronic.
Okay.
It depends. And now she's at the point she's learned a lot of meditation techniques. We've introduced mindfulness. We've introduced learning about her brain. And so in one of the artworks she had done, I'd asked her to draw a bridge, and she said on one side was a cave which was dark, and she was in there, and all these like dried pokey things are growing out. It's a very simple looking artwork, but it's amazing what she said about it. And then she's come out of it, and it was like she was still lost. And then the bridge, which was really not a very stable bridge, she drew, and then she had to cross it, but she's still kind of not sure, but she has this mindfulness tree
Mhm.
that she needs to get to.
Interesting.
So she was able to see her path, and she was able to see how she can get better from not having any idea how she's going to get better to now. And the visual part of it, seeing it helps the person just put it out there. And when they see it, it makes a huge difference.
I love asking this question to a lot of my guests because you're all dealing with some very human, emotionally heavy scenarios and patients every day in, day out. Have you found that art helps you ground yourself at the end of the day? And like, is this a self therapy that you do for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something called response art
Uh-huh.
that we do that where we it helps us with just kind of getting out what we are doing. Self-care is a big part. We train our students also for self-care.
Mm,
Art could be it could be a massage, or it could be going for a run,
mm,
right? You need to know what is that self-care. We also go for supervision. So it's very important when you are working in a mental health field that you have somebody else that you can go talk to.
mm.
So sometimes it's your peers, sometimes it's paid supervision. It's another professional who can guide you and help you think things through.
That's so important because of the work you all do. And I think of even like doctors and lawyers, right? Everyone who's in that service profession dealing
Hmm.
directly with humans, human emotions. It's so important to
Right,
arm them with the tools to take care of themselves too.
right,
I'm glad
right.
that's there. And you spoke of India. I do want to talk a little bit about you've got a very multinational, international flavor to a lot of things you do. You do a lot of work with immigrants coming into the US and just how do they sort of get assimilated into into the society. Talk to us a little bit about what that looks like and what are you seeing, maybe some of the common stresses that they deal with.
Yeah, so with I do two, three different things, right? So my clientele is varied, the people I work with, but one of the things that because I'm Indian, a lot of times people will seek out an Indian therapist.
Hmm.
Sometimes they don't know it's what art therapy is, but they're looking for an Indian
Indian
therapist.
therapist, yeah.
So, and then they discover I do art therapy, and then I teach. I kind of tell them what art therapy is all about. A lot of times it's acculturations. That is when you come move from one culture to a different. It could be one city to another city. Sometimes it
Mhm.
could be one country to another country. There's a lot of you need to again get that sense of belonging. You've left your family behind. This new language, new culture to learn about and adopt, and some people really struggle with that.
Mhm.
Some people maybe find it even better than
Mhm.
what they had back home. But for some people, it's really, really hard. And so when they come into therapy, a lot of it is understanding what they're going through. As an Indian, I understand that in laws might come and stay with you for 3 to 6 months, and there may not be a choice there. For the person. So it's not like I can tell that person, no, 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 you can't have say you have to put down some boundaries and you have to set but there are other ways of working with it. How do we work with it from that cultural perspective? So really understanding the culture is so important.
Mm.
So my work with immigrants is really about trying to work with them and understand their own culture, their own worldview,
Mhm.
and help them kind of assimilate into this culture or understand what their needs are. All that is where I work with.
Nice. And I think that's so important that you bring that cultural lens because there are these nuances. You're right. That it would be hard for someone who's not Indian to understand those dynamics within the family. Uh, and then you also, I was reading in your profile, you also helped because you are at George Washington right now. You teach there.
No, no,
Okay.
no. I don't teach there. I actually helped design the program for India, Maharashtra Institute of Technology in Pune. So several art therapists, Manisha Khanna, Susan Anand, myself, Dr. Penny Orr, Girija Kamal, Aishwarya Bani, Smita Deshpande. I had been trying this for many years, but one of the biggest hurdles is financial
Mhm.
and an institution that is ready to start it. Those were two big hurdles. And here was an institution ready to invest in art therapy. And two is because we were going into COVID at that time, the government regulations had eased, and we were able to do it as a fully online program. So that means that we got the cost down because the therapists here, we could work. We didn't have to go and live in
Mm.
India.
Mm.
And we had the expertise, right? So a lot of people, a lot of art therapists helped me. I can't say I did it alone. In the US, my community, really, art therapy community, came together, directors of various programs. They came as guest lecturers, and we designed the curriculum and we made it very culturally relevant. So, one part of it is the education in India is usually you go into an art background or a psychology background. But to have both is very difficult. So, in the program, we have art and psychology, and then we have art therapy courses that are designed for the Indian environment. For instance, there's a multicultural, a diversity program. There's a mindfulness, neuroscience and mindfulness. There's um, creativity and metaphor, which is more based on also what are the symbolisms that come up in India, how do we use traditional arts of India in art therapy. So there was a lot of that, and our students work in the communities in India.
Interesting. And you also started the study abroad program at George Washington for art therapy, is that right?
Yeah. Several years back, actually, the director of the art therapy program and me were good friends also. Heidi Bardo and me were chatting, and I said, I want to really take art therapy to India. And she says, okay, why don't we do a study abroad program? That's one way we can come.
Wonderful.
So that's how the study abroad program started, and they added it to their diversity course. So they came, and I set up there because my mother ran a school. We had enough of connections there in India. I'm from Chennai, so the program was in Chennai. And they came for 3 weeks. It was wonderful. A lot of learning we had. Worked in different schools and a hospital. Actually, we worked at the Mahesh Memorial Hospital for children with cancer, and that was also a very interesting experience.
Amazing. I'm sure both sides benefited from that, right? Students
Oh,
going
yeah,
to India as well as folks in India as well.
yeah.
Wonderful. All right, Sangeeta. So this has been an amazing conversation, and we're going to lighten things up a bit. We're going to put you through a rapid fire round.
Okay.
So we're not going to give the therapist too much time to think here, and so we'll see what comes out of that. All right, you ready?
Sure.
Let's go for it. A color that describes your mood today.
Turquoise blue. That's my favorite, and that's my favorite color. All my paintings have to have turquoise blue in it for some reason.
Love it. And I can see it cheers you up. So perfect. If colors had personalities, which one would be the drama queen?
Orange.
Orange. Why is that?
Orange. I just feel it's such a bright, vibrant color. It has so much of energy in it. So orange would be my drama queen.
I can see it. Lovely color. A place where you feel most inspired.
I think everywhere. I mean, I can create in my basement. I can go out. Nature's a way I feel really inspired. Museums. I love looking at art, and that's inspiring. I love hearing about art. So I think I can feel almost inspired when I go to the beach. I feel inspired. I'm not much of a landscape artist or anything, but it just kind of triggers something. And my meditation actually is help. When I'm in meditation, sometimes I will get an image, and that image is my inspiration.
Interesting. Spoken like a true artist. And is it true? I have to ask because my daughter loves art, and she has to carry her little art kit everywhere because no matter, we don't know where inspiration is going to strike. And so she has to put it down on paper right then and there. Is that the case with you as well?
Yeah, that's the case. In fact, in the plane, I do art also. I carry art supplies. Sometimes my backpack is heavier because of those art supplies, but I have little pens and this thing, and I make little cards.
Yeah.
So I prep my cards with my sari stuck on it. And then when I'm in the plane and I'm listening to something or just, I'll just put on,
It's your oxygen.
start drawing. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Love it.
And when I don't do art, I do I feel I get into trouble,
Same is the case with my daughter. We try to keep her out of trouble with art. What's the funniest thing a client has ever drawn? You don't have to reveal their name, but just curious.
A funniest thing that a client has drawn. Oh boy, that's a challenging thing.
Or interesting or something very memorable that brought a smile to your face.
There are a lot. I think a memorable one I would say is when I asked a client to she was talking about all the stress she was feeling, and how horrible she is, and she doesn't feel like she can go on with this kind of stuff anymore. She's a teenager, of
Mm.
course, and she's feeling really overwhelmed. And so I say, can you put that down in any way, put what you're feeling? And so she whips out her iPad and starts drawing, and she does this garbage truck that is overflowing with the stuff that she's feeling.
Oh,
And she's this tiny person, and she's feeling that this garbage truck is going to run over her. So that would not be funny, but it's
yeah.
so vivid in my mind. That's how she saw her stress, right? Totally helpless.
Um, One Tamil Nadu snack you miss the most?
Murkus.
Agree. And maybe last one, a mindfulness practice you return to often.
Meditation. I have a meditation practice every morning, and I have a gratitude practice every night. And I feel that keeps me grounded.
Love it.
Uh,
Awesome.
and the breath is always there.
The breath work. Yeah, no, definitely. Well, thank you for sharing and thank you for playing. That was fun.
Uh,
So again, Sangeeta, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and maybe something to leave our listeners with all this incredible work you're doing through your foundations. Right, you've got the Prasad Family Foundation and the Bambino Educational Trust. What is the
mhm.
legacy you're hoping to build and leave behind?
I want people to not see an artist and a person as two different things. Art is really in our everyday life. If we can see it, and it's not meant only for the walls,
Mm.
it's in, and the process is so important. Product is important too, but not necessarily the process also. So just like enjoying cooking, enjoy doing art for art's sake. And my legacy is I see this little girl who's getting help through art. And I
Mhm.
think maybe it was me who got through help through art when I was a little kid. And that gives me joy that when I think a person will get help through art,
Mhm.
it just gives me a lot of joy and satisfaction. So I think that's my legacy.
It's beautiful, even literally, right? Because it is beautiful art that you've created with your patients, and that's benefited them. And love what you said about, it's the journey, right? Because when we think of art, we think of, oh, the perfection, the end result that comes out. And
Mhm.
honestly, that's daunting for a lot of us to even think about starting in it. And so really the
Mhm.
focus, shifting the focus to the journey and the experience of building it versus what's the end result, I think is a beautiful way to think about it and bring that into our lives.
And art doesn't have to be permanent, right?
Right.
It can be a transition. Look at the Enzo circles that the Japanese made, or the rangolis that we do, or the wall paintings. They all have a sense of impermanence.
Mm.
So I think that's really important to recognize that art doesn't have to be permanent. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be personal. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is a self-expression. It is your self-expression. And it's so into everybody creates differently. You can take the same painting and copy it, but it'll be
It'll be
different.
different. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sangeeta, for being with us, for sharing all your experience, your knowledge. And is there a way that folks can follow you or stay in touch with the work you're doing?
I have a web page. They can go to sangeetaprasad.com for any information they need. My email address is there, so if they want to reach out.
We'll link all of those in the description so folks know where to find you.
All
So
right.
thank you, Sangeeta, and thank you to everyone for listening in.
Thank you, Vidhi, for this wonderful opportunity. And I really feel honored and blessed to be able to communicate what is within me to a wider audience. I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
My pleasure.